Welcome, everybody, to the PHDJ podcast. My name is Mike.
Yes, and this is Joe Bunn.
And we have two special guests with us this time around. I'm so psyched for this. Who should I introduce first?
Go ahead with Ferre.
Rob Ferre?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We have Rob Ferre joining us, and I am pronouncing that correctly, right, Rob?
Yep, hip-hop hooray.
See?
Hooray.
Pop hooray!
I think that's how I remember.
And Rob joins us from Salt Lake City, is that correct?
Yeah, Salt Lake City, Utah. It's nice and sunny today.
Nice.
Give us the name of your company.
Life of the Party Entertainment.
Love it. I just love that name. I love a name that just tells everybody what
you're going to do
and how you do it. I just freaking love that. As opposed to Bunn DJ Co.
Right. Absolutely nothing. We're going to shake your buns.
That's right. And I'm also going to introduce Randy, who is really he's everything when it comes to Bunn DJ Co. Joe, at this point, just a figurehead, does nothing for the company. Randy runs everything day to day, everything else. Say hello, Randy. How are you?
How you doing? Kind of true, too.
Kind of true. Allegedly.
Great.
Right. Randy Bennett's here.
The reason we have these two fantastic, phenomenal entertainers on with us this week is they have both done weddings recently, right? Just this past weekend, or was yours earlier,
yes.
Randy?
Yeah, mine was Saturday.
Yep, last weekend.
Great.
Yep.
Great.
June 6th.
And, I've always said that we do this podcast mainly so Joe can learn from me. Well, this week, I'm doing this specific. This was my topic. I thought of this, and it's selfish because I have my first wedding back on Sunday. So I want you two to just tell me what I can expect, what I can do differently, and be creative to throw a successful wedding in a COVID world. Mm-hmm. So this is a selfish topic for me, but hopefully our listeners do get something out of it. I don't care who goes first. Tell me how it went. Tell me what you did, what was different, what was unique, and what we can expect.
Rob, why don't you start since you're so far from us?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting because Utah started opening up, and it's really interesting because our cases are now spiking. We're going back up.
Right.
Which is very interesting. But most of my June events have pivoted to either next year or to later in the year.
Yep.
But this particular wedding, two grooms, they wanted to move forward. They were happy to move forward. Mm-hmm. And I think when we think about these upcoming events, we get most of our command orders or wherever you may call them from our venues and from our planners. And so I was really just wanting to mimic what the venue wanted. And this was an outdoor venue, and it's an outdoor-indoor, it's a restaurant, but most of the stuff happens outdoors. So when I showed up, they had a sign that said, we require everybody to wear a mask, all our vendors. So I had a mask ready. So if you're showing up without a mask, you're probably going to have to turn around and go home and get something. So make sure you have a mask. Also have a mask that looks somewhat presentable. I have a nice plain black mask.
Right.
It helps it so I don't have to stick out. I did buy something that was a little bit more fun, but I think if you have something like a mask. Now also keep that in mind. You do get sweaty. You do get kind of short of breath sometimes when you're wearing a mask. But also keep in mind, you don't have to keep a mask on the entire time. If there are people 10 feet away from you, you could probably take off your mask. Once somebody approaches you, just pull it back on. Mm-hmm. And I think that would be proper social decorum.
Yeah.
So when I showed up, I went immediately to the venue, to the coordinator and to the venue coordinator. We had two people. You had the venue coordinator and then they had the coordinator. And so I talked to them about what we were doing. I got set up. We also had a ceremony. People were properly distant for the ceremony. Now, a couple of things I didn't take into account is some of the guests, I would say maybe 25 to 30% of the guests wore masks. The rest,
how many people were there, Ro?
I would say 90 to 100.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it was a bigger wedding, 90 to 100, probably 30% of the guests wore masks, and by the end of the night, they weren't wearing their masks, which is very interesting because it kind of got laxed. Plus, it also rained. Rain also puts a damper on things, makes people leave. People we lost a lot of people due to attrition throughout the night. Mm-hmm. And because it's
Rob,
very different.
Let me just ask, because I know you're in Utah, and sometimes, was there alcohol at this wedding?
Yes, there was. There was alcohol.
Okay.
And it was very interesting because if you wanted to get a drink, everything had to be served. What I really liked about the venue, everybody who was on staff wore a mask. And so anytime I walked out of the booth, interacted with other people on the staff, I always had my mask on. I wanted to make sure I honored that, make sure people felt comfortable. I mimic what other people were doing. So I would, I dress to the level of my clients. I wear a mask to the level of the venue. And that way I can also stay in the good graces of the venue.
Sure.
So there was alcohol, and but with the ceremony, it was interesting. I had to mic the officiant, which was a female. And the best part about miking officiants who are females, they have dresses with no pockets. And so you have that awkward dance, right? So I said, I'm going to put this on you. Is it all right? Is it okay that I get close to you? I'm going to have to do this and do that. And so I had that. We also had another microphone for vows. We placed that on the ground. She didn't want it on a stand. I said, but it would be better for this. She's like, no. So I just kind of go along with it. And I also had hand wipes, disinfectant wipes to wipe it all off once it was over. So I made sure all those things were happening. And so that's one thing to keep in mind when it comes to ceremonies. Make sure you have your disinfectant wipes. Make sure that they feel comfortable when you're miking somebody. But I think the best solution is putting a mic on a stand. And so I'm going to fast forward really quickly to the toast. Then that's what I did, is I put a mic on a stand. Boom mic is probably the best way to go about it, because that way you can crane the neck out and they can just be near it. So if you're seeing me on video right now, I'm not touching the microphone. We were talking about this in a DJ forum with our DJs here in Utah. Do we need to wipe off the mic every time? I think it's one way. If you want to be safe, you can wipe it off, because I don't think a microphone spits back at you unless somebody is licking the microphone itself. But if you want to have that extra precaution taken, go ahead and wipe it off. But a lot of other solutions I've heard from other people is putting a new mask on it every time. Each toaster gets their own mask on top of it. When I say mask, I meant the foam covering over the microphone.
Right. You don't mean the face mask. You mean the cover.
Yeah,
on
the foam covering. What would we call that?
Did the
mic
speakers?
condom? I don't know.
Yeah.
Did the speakers wear masks when they spoke?
No. They didn't.
No. Good. I would expect not. If you're standing there by yourself, everybody's at least 6-10 feet away. You should be able to comfortably give us, and you as well, right? When you made announcements from behind the DJ system, you didn't have your mask on.
I
Correct?
didn't. I didn't. And when people approached me, I would put my mask on, but I would take it off. And so we have our own little booth, and that's the best thing about our job is we can be one or two people, right? Bands, they have to bring tons of people, but DJs, we don't. And so I think we have that advantage of being
It's funny. I've always been for working with an assistant. Joe and I have even talked about it on this podcast. My wedding for Sunday, I talked her out. It was originally a 2-person package. I talked her out of, I said, look, it's 50 people in the backyard. I no longer need an assistant. I'll save you a couple of $100, because I would rather, in this new temporary normal, I'd rather work by myself.
Be alone. Yeah. So go ahead. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, one thing I think, and I want to put this into the mind of some of the other DJs, when I arrived, this particular venue wanted to make sure that the tables were socially distant properly. We had an outdoor area and an indoor area. They had hired another company to bring in extra speakers, video camera, and make it so that people who were inside could see what was going on outside. And they had a screen set up and all that set up. I'm happy I didn't have to set that up. But some people who are like full AV maybe want to offer those services. This is something you can offer. I just daisy chained my speakers and plugged into their sound system. And that way I had speakers inside and outside. So start thinking about how you can add some value. And I don't know if you're going to look at this as a way to make more money, but maybe add value to your client's experience, where you say, I know we're going to have some guests in different parts of the venue. They can't hear all the toasts. They can't hear all the announcements. I'm going to bring extra speakers. Always have extra speakers on hand and extra microphones so that you can also add that value. And once I plugged into their sound system, they were so impressed. The venue was very impressed. And so you need to make that first impression with your venue, with your planners, to make sure that everybody knows that, you know, your company
compliant
is, yes.
Right.
That this is a company that you want to be working with. Now, you might get more
Rob,
referrals, but yeah.
I want to get
ahead.
back to you in a second and talk about dancing, whether it happened or not. But for now, let's switch over to Randy. As far as the preliminary stuff that Rob has covered, mask, load in, dealing with other professionals, can you bring us up to speed on your experience Saturday night?
Yeah, mine was very similar. 150 people outside in a tent. All the staff was wearing masks. I showed up in my mask, same one I think as Rob probably has, plain black. It was in North Carolina, so it was 93 degrees on Saturday while I was setting up.
Fun.
Yeah. In that tent with no fans. But I didn't do the ceremony. I just did the reception. I did take the mask off after I was set up and I was behind my booth. The closest tables were 10 foot away from me on each side. There was a dance floor in the middle, which was gravel. It wasn't like a dance floor. It was gravel. But they did dance. And as far as the toasts and the microphone, I did wipe the microphone down after I used it when I put it on the mic stand. As you were saying, I did have, these are the microphone covers.
Yeah, these things are nice. They're little, like, disposable. They come in packs of 100. They're
100 for like $10 on Amazon. But I just changed that every time somebody used it and threw it away.
And then wipe the handle down?
Wipe the handle down with hand wipes, yeah.
And you were saying, interestingly enough, though, Randy, like hardly any, the staff had on masks, but hardly any guests were wearing masks.
No guests were wearing them at all.
Yeah. And ironically, Mike, this booked in the pandemic period. This was not something that held on to their date. She booked, what was the reasoning behind it, Randy? I mean, do you remember?
I think she was just determined to have the wedding. She didn't care.
Yeah.
There were 150 people there. Almost all their guests showed up.
And they partied.
Yeah, they danced the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, listen, yesterday our governor made an announcement. He expanded the number of people that can, and immediately within hours after that announcement, we had a number of people. The wedding that I'm going to do on Sunday had originally canceled their services because they were just going to get married in their backyard. And then now that they can have 50 people in their backyard, they called us back and said, can we still get our DJ? Yes, sure, no problem. I didn't make any other plans for Sunday. So it went from being booked to canceled to being booked. And it's all because of Murphy's announcement yesterday. So I'm super excited about it. So, Randy, you said there was no dancing whatsoever?
No, there was. There was no dance floor.
So on this little patch of gravel, at some point, you got people dancing.
As soon as dancing started, it was 5 people. Then it was 50, and it wasn't long before it was 50, and they danced for 2 hours.
And so I'm assuming there was no social distancing when it came to that. People were closer than 6 feet.
Slow songs, people were dancing during slow songs. They were at the end of the night, Sweet Caroline, arms around each other in a big circle.
Okay.
I do want to point out something. This was not authorized. In other words, I mean, it was authorized by me for Randy to do it because they were going to get a DJ and I would like to provide that service. But I mean, North Carolina is at a 25-person cap, period.
Oh, so they were above that.
They were. And so we're not mentioning the couple or the venue or anything like that, but we didn't post anything.
No.
But I just wanted to point that out for people that think it's the Wild West here in North Carolina. It is far from it. It is not good here at all.
So that's interesting that New Jersey now, if you're still at 25, we went up to 50 yesterday.
Right.
So we've actually leapfrogged you because we went from pretty much being closed to,
Correct.
I mean, I sent an email out to Dominic and Lynn this morning and said, next Monday, not this Monday, but next Monday, let's get back into the office. So we are literally slowly reopening. So Rob, let's go back to you. Dancing. Yeah. Was dancing expected? Was dancing not expected? What happened?
Yeah, it was very interesting. Utah's a very interesting place. When alcohol is present, that always helps. But when you have lots of families, people leave naturally due to attrition, especially when it rains. And so a lot of people left. I would say by the time dancing started, we probably had a quarter of the guests left. So maybe 30 guests were left. They watched the first dance and most of them left. I actually stayed a full hour over I was contracted for. I'm like,
Nice.
I'm here. I actually want to play in front of humans.
Yes.
I didn't bring
Great.
it up to him. And I didn't say to him,
Right.
like, it's 10:30. Do you want to go an extra hour? I was just like, let's just
You
go.
missed it so much. It's funny.
Right.
Joe and I have talked about that a few times. Like, if you're 2 months into this and you don't miss DJing so much, you do it for free. You might want
Right.
to question,
Right.
your love
Your
for this
future.
industry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all I did was I took your advice, Mike, and I sent him an email on Monday. Can you do me a favor? Email. He sent me a review and he gave me a $50 tip. But
Nice.
that's all I
Nice.
really wanted was just being able just to stay longer and offer more value. And I think if we can offer value at this times and people being able to give you a good review in this time, all good press is good press. And so not a lot of dancing happened. It was more
Yeah.
just sitting around, talking, chatting, drinking, just being with humans. And we can offer that experience through music, through dance, being social. So if people are just socializing, don't feel like it's a failure because people are now connecting.
Yeah.
We
Right.
are a conduit to that.
Yep.
Right. So I know I shared this on a phone call that Rob and I were on. We belong to a group, but since I shared it personally, I can share it outside the walls of that group.
Yeah.
My goal on Sunday is going to be, if I can't get people dancing, because I don't know if they're going to have a dancing area, I don't know how they're going to feel about dancing,
Sure.
is at least to get people singing along and connecting to the music. Just because people aren't dancing doesn't mean they're not feeling the music. So hopefully I can, like Randy, I'd love to feel like a renegade and actually get people up on the dance floor. But if I can't do that, I at least want to see people singing along at their seats and at their tables and kind of connecting and feeling happy with with what they're hearing.
And you kill
So
at those
that's-
kind of sets too, Mike. Those sing along, feel good kind. You posted so many of those early in the quarantine.
Yeah.
Like I think, you're just going to have to play it by ear, like you said. At the end of the day, we're there to create a vibe. And I've done a million parties where I was a little frustrated at first, and then I realized, like, okay, this isn't a dancing party. I mean, you gave seminars all last year about it. You've got the dancers, your non-dancers, your watchers, your whatever, and so 30 minutes into it, I'm like, all right, I'm going to pivot this set, and I'm going to make it more about the vibe. You know what I mean? And then I always think to myself, what if this party had nothing? Like, what if there was silence right now and it's just people sitting here eating people sitting
Or
here?
what if they had a bad DJ? What if they had
Right.
a DJ? Some
Even
DJs
worse
go,
to me.
"Oh, there's no dancing, so I'm going to Kenny G." Like,
Yeah.
they take that step all the way down here. No knock on Kenny G, but
Right,
you know what I mean. And yeah, to me, there's multiple levels of, if they're not going to dance,
Sure.
you can do this, and then you can
Sure.
do this, and then
Sure.
and then seventh or eighth is Vitamin String Quartet.
Yep. Yep.
That's
I agree.
doesn't have to be the next step down. Yeah.
I think a lot of these people also, Mike, this is the first time they're actually getting around people.
Yeah.
And they're just excited to be out of the house,
Right.
Oh man, I mean,
But they also could be timid about being out of the house. So
True.
everyone will have a different reaction to the first time you're surrounded by a bunch of people that you haven't been living with for the last few
Yep.
months. Some people are going to want to be like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you forever," and some
Yeah.
people are going to be like, and
Yep.
you know what? I don't blame either
me neither.
reaction. I'm open because I don't personally know how I feel about it. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a birthday party for Kelly a week and a half ago in the backyard. And I had to restrain myself from
Yeah.
hugging friends that I hadn't seen in 2 months. I had to go, no, it's inappropriate. So
Yeah.
I get both reactions. Before we ask you for parting thoughts, gentlemen, two things that I think Randy said that I just want to input. First of all, I would recommend a mic stand so that the speakers don't have to hold the microphone. I'm usually opposed to that because I want, as a public speaker, I want the freedom to move around. And I think best men and maids of honor and whoever should have that freedom. But for the time being, I'm going to put it on a stand and advise them, don't touch it. Like Rob said, I'd probably advise them. I might even put like a mark on the ground, say, stand behind this. I'll set the microphone loud enough to pick you up. But this way, I don't have to clean the shaft. Anyway, also, Randy, you said they had no fans in this tent. Do you bring a fan with you for outdoor events?
No, I don't.
Oh, I always do. I'll tell you what, that's the best. I got a little fan. I point, sticking it right underneath my facade. It cools from the ground up, which we all know that can be the hottest area. And yeah, highly, highly advise it. Anytime I do an outdoor event, little portable fan, stick it under the facade. Nobody even out there even knows you have it. Why is that guy smiling? Because he's not as hot as you are. So,
the photographers also like when you use a mic stand. That way the people aren't walking around and they know where the shots are going to be.
Yeah, the videographer.
You know what? We have a videographer who actually brings a stand with him and asks us, "Hey, I like the guy, so I usually go, sure, Mike, we'll do what you want." I don't love it because, again, I like a best man to be able to have the freedom, but I get why he wants to do it. So for the short term, I will be doing it the way Michael likes it. Yeah. Man. So parting thoughts for our listeners who, some of them may be like myself, they have their first weddings back in the next week or two. Any parting thoughts that you can offer, or have you already given us all your wisdom and experience?
Rob, do you want to go first?
Sure. I think communication is the key, making sure that you communicate with your clients and your vendors, making sure everybody feels comfortable. Show up ready to be all decked out, gloves, masks, everything. And then if you need to bring it down a level, great. Also, I think there's a lot of too many DJs who are overthinking this. Like, well, how do I take requests? What if somebody comes up to me? It's like, just don't overthink it. You can do requests, via text message. You can bring a stanchion, but I think sometimes too many DJs are overthinking this.
I agree.
But don't neglect being safe.
Correct.
Rise to the level of the occasion and be there for them. But also think about this. These are the first opportunities for people to connect with other human beings. And so be that conduit of celebration and fun. And just act like it's like a normal wedding, unless the client says otherwise. Just do what you do.
Do
your thing.
Do you. Yep.
I think on Sunday, I'm going to give out my cell phone number and tell people, if you'd like to hear anything, instead of approaching my setup, why don't you text me and I'll give out my cell phone number. I have no problem. But what are people going to do with my personal cell phone? They're not going to stalk me or anything. So
you're very handsome. You're very handsome.
That's true. I'm a married man. I'm spoken for. Randy, give us some parting wisdom.
I agree with everything that Rob said. Make sure, when you get there, that mask, that's the first sign that they'll see that you care and that you're trying to do the right thing also.
Yeah. And
the wiping down the microphone. And I really like the idea of the microphone covers. They didn't muffle the sound or anything like that. So.
Nice. And the stand.
So those are available on Amazon?
Yeah. A package of 100 for like $10.99.
Do you remember what you searched?
Yeah, I can't find them. I just looked.
Oh, you can't. Let me.
Is that what you were doing, Rob? I was wondering what you were doing.
That's what I was doing. I was looking for them on Amazon.
Right, hold on. We're going to confirm this while we're on here, and then we'll post a link as well under the when we post.
I want to be on the first wave of that.
Yeah. I think the problem is they're already back ordered. They're already back ordered. Actually.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, I think. Right, Randy?
I'm looking to see.
All right.
And I'm finding stuff for like $10 for like $20, but not these little ones that they're kind of just.
It's like almost like a rubber band inside, and it's on.
Well, it's funny you said you throw them out, Randy. I have 2 microphone covers like that aren't disposable, but I mean, if you I have a gig on Sunday. If I use both of them on Sunday and then stick them in a bag, by next Friday, which is my next event, anything that might have been on them is going to be dead. So I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to get the disposable ones. Is my point.
I will say one more thing, and I think Mike Walter does this, but I also am now on a 2 wireless mic package. I mean, not a package. I didn't charge them more, but basically, I have an MC mic, and then I have another mic for people that are toasting and such. Yeah. So,
right. And we've talked about that on this podcast. I want that for
Randy put it in the chat. Sorry, go ahead.
I see that. Back in normal days when people would go, hey, I want to sing along. Could I have the microphone? Yes, but I'm not giving you my main mic. I'm giving you a backup microphone.
Right.
So that is the one that I'm going to put on a stand on Sunday.
Right.
For the toast.
Yeah, and I didn't say this. I did have 2 mics. So I had the wireless mic on the stand for the toasters. Then I used my wire mic behind the booth. So I didn't even have to walk out just to change the microphone cover.
Yeah, these microphone covers are way back ordered, but we'll put the link in under the podcast for you guys.
Might as well get online.
Might as well. Well, guys.
Yeah, one more piece of advice
Yeah,
is also
sure.
make sure you're up on your music. I think that's
Yep.
really important. I think what's been really helpful is watching other people's streams. And also, I'm going to promote another podcast, but it's the Travel DJ Blend that you appear on with Brian.
I do. Mhm.
And I love the songs that you guys, the little nuggets that you guys find. I am constantly doing that music curation.
Yep.
And I think it's the more we listen to each other, I think will only help us.
Yep. I
I'm going to
agree.
edit that out because I don't want our listeners knowing about any other podcast. I'm only kidding. That's Brian B., who is
Brian B.
about to become a dad. Is he
Yes,
a dad
he
yet?
is.
I know.
No, not yet. I talk to him every day.
It's like literally going to happen
yes,
this
I'm
week.
like,
so
come on,
God bless him
baby.
and Tara. Yeah, I know. Looking forward to it. Yep.
Oh, man. You guys were super helpful, man. Thank you guys for being on. Mike, thanks for coming up with yet another genius topic. And thanks.
That's all right. You'll think of one someday. So.
Thank you for everybody listening, man. Appreciate you guys.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
great
much.
one, guys. Thanks for being on.
Thanks,
Bye, guys.
guys.